Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John. This report is for the 30th. Well, we're getting ready to end the month. We had that nice boost up and followed through pretty decent, and then we started getting some selling. Midway part into the day, we had a little bit of fade, and then it just started to escalate as things moved towards the close. But we were in the broader overall sell signal. We're could be getting close to a buy here. We got steel crossing above, orange almost below red, and we're about to see midterm buyers come over. So it's possible we could get that right before the beginning of the month, which would not be a shock given the general market conditions are not horrible. Everything is still up in the air about the whole coronavirus, and so we'll see how that plays out. But I think that's the fear factor that as the R0 or whatever starts to grow from the idea that people are actually really getting sick, and we can get some reliable information, well, not just from China now, because there's so many places, even here in Florence, they now have reported cases of it. So we'll see how that incubation period and whether or not we start seeing exponential spreading. That will cause panic around the world, and that will have a major economic impact. Don't even kid yourself. It's going to have a huge one for China already, but if it starts to spread, people will hunker down. They're already going to do that just because it's an election year going to the second half of the year, and that's something to pay attention to. So we'll definitely keep our eyes open for all those details, and we'll start to see it because the money will move out long before. So no question about that, being able to tell when it's about to happen. For now, that's not what we're seeing, so keep going with it. NASDAQ's been stronger from the beginning, though it's interesting that the S&P has already got the crossover of steel and the NASDAQ not quite. So in this particular case, short-term buyers are lifting the S&P broader market a little bit faster than the NASDAQ, and that's just because the NASDAQ outperformed, so it's just reverting back into a mean. And of course, Brit exit, putting it down to the lows. No real shock there. We have the dip below the red line right here. Beautiful little thing, and guess what? We're right there. Go figure. And we're still below the red line, which means it's not done. And they're going to be desperate to hold this baby up, because if it goes below 108, that's that line down here, it's panic time. Panic time for the Europeans. They're already going to have major difficulties with this whole budgetary situation. I mean, they've been living fat cat lives, and now the party might just be about over because they're going to have to fill a major budget gap. And oil still holding up this baseline, so we'll see if it's able to do anything. Obviously, there's going to be massive drawdown of demand from China. And that's going to have an impact. So we're going to have to weigh the buildup of crude in that as it relates to what's going on with China and their needs. So that could have a little bit of an impact without necessarily impacting the U.S. economy in a dramatic fashion. It'll be interesting to see about exports and that, if there's any controls or concerns about planes or anything coming through, or even chips. So that's the next factor to look into. Gold, back at the peaks. Fear. Everyone's going to go to that. This is human nature. So if we take a look at this, we can go from the beginning. We were pumped up, looking nice and happy there, and then we started breaking down. So this was the start. We had that big pump. We had positive extremes, no shock. Guess what? Oh, that's right, they filled. Did it take, super dramatics? Yeah, you had a couple of DOC spreads that were early on that just didn't produce anything. The one that had the dip below the red line, we knew that was going to come back to this one. Then we made a little secondary run, but it was right about here that things started to break completely for it. And it still held up even within that. And didn't take until you get the very strong rejection, which took place right about. I should just mark that one. Why not? Because that's a clean, solid breakaway. You still had steel coming from underneath, so my expectation was that this could still linger for a little while longer, though we clearly had the third lower shakeout reading matching highs, when things happen in threes, it's never a good thing, and that really led to the breakdown, which then produced a nice turnaround buy. We had a bunch of moves above. Any one of these is fine to have bought. For me, it was just a matter of making sure that orange dip buy just as a positive, especially if I'm below the 23%. If I was above the 23% and this came in earlier, fine, I would have probably taken that one and covered and gone long for that. Usually what I'll do is cover a short down at these bottom areas in anticipation of that, and then see if I get a rollover, and I'll take that as the dip, because I don't mind giving up a little so I don't get caught in a upburst. But that upburst came, and it didn't hold on very long. Relatively speaking, it was quite a few bars of nice pump action, but no dips below the red line when you had these DOC spreads. And so that means that usually they're short-lived, and they, in fact, were in this case. In fact, we then went below red, and then it wasn't until here. We ended up with a DOC spread that literally doesn't technically qualify because it didn't dip below the red and come back. That happened right here before the last little pump. But then you ended up with the magenta candle at the open of this bar, and boom, that was the cascade lower. And then you had the nice little attempted pump there, but what happened was the green could not hold. You had some separation, but the steel wasn't quite down yet, so I was waiting, and then boom, happened right there, right at the algo level, and then once it dipped below that, it was like, okay, yeah, that pump is over, and that's where we finished it out. And I was putting up my matrix on the Skype chat there so you could see just how I was playing that baby, and that was nice and clean. So I'll be sending out indicator renewals and getting those set up for the end month, and we'll be all set to go for February. It was a good January. We right on top of all of it, and saw this turn where I can't even call it a turn. I would just say slight abatement to the relentless upside. So, but it can retrace all of that entire up move in just one day without much difficulty. So keep that in mind. As always, though, trade well. We will definitely talk again tomorrow.